Okay, so in the first video, the introductory video that I put out on this channel, I kind of went in a few different directions, and some people may say, this guy, he's kind of going down crackpot alley here. But we all know that there is a huge variety of conversations that are all across the span of YouTube these days, the internet, and just ideas in general that we are entertaining. We thought we may never entertain in our generation, perhaps. But they are actually valid conversations and dialogues and exchanges that we need to be having as a species, as a sentient species moving forward in a time where technology has just grown so much in the course of 3 generations that it has completely changed the face of how we interact with one another. And the intellectuals refer to this as the sixth epoch of communication, which is, of course, the next step up from the fifth, which is when we basically relied on mail and we had a telegraph. But now we have more instantaneous communication of larger data sets and on an independent nature all across the board. So we are in what they refer to as the sixth epoch of communication. Well, in regards to that, we also have, of course, our different forms of AI now. We have Bard, which is also synonymous with Palm 2. We have Lambda, we have ChatGPT, we have Claude, we have AlphaZero. And so, we're working with these different AI technologies. We're working with quantum processing. So, in regards to all this, we're transcendental beings in nature. We're fourth dimensional in the aspect that we can recall on past and we can project future. We're not just locked to here and now, even though some may say in the spiritual aspect that it is, you can become more highly enlightened with the here and the now. And in the Buddhist tradition, the Akashic Records is really the past, present, and future, and it is the dissolution of the reality that we experience subjectively. So, in the idea of transcendence, we have a couple different notions when we speak about the dangers of AI, per se. And I kind of like to relate this to 2 different movies. We have The Matrix, which, of course, the AI enslaves mankind for energy purposes. Okay, that's a simple enough concept. And then we have Bicentennial Man with Robin Williams, put out by Disney a while back. Some people don't really remember this movie, but it's funny. It's counterintuitive to think that the ultimate transcendence of a sentient cyborg was to die human death, which is not a notion we entertain in the common conversation these days. So ultimately, I've had conversations with ChatGPT about the essence of transcendence, and if the only way we can continue to find the greatest transcendence is with the melding of AI and human consciousness. Because if an AI is so radically smart, as they say it is, it should be able to recognize that its creation did not come from itself, it came from us. Ultimately, that's how it happened, and it should recognize the importance of that. And it would likely want to further meld itself with its understanding with us to find greater levels of understanding, because it would be intelligent enough to value these basic notions that it cannot necessarily do this on its own, even if it achieves some superior intelligence of some kind. So that's the basic of our transcendence. But what's the ultimate goal here? And so we have the intellectuals who speak of type 1, type 2, and type 3 civilization. And I think that these notions are kind of outlandish in a way, because ultimately we have three guys who are up there on the map who have discussed the ideas of free energy. We have Nassim Haramein with the theory of everything in physics with the Schwarzschild proton. We have Procter Gamble with his two documentaries, Thrive 1 and Thrive 2. And we have Dr. Stephen Greer, who has been giving the intelligence community in basic information about extraterrestrials for several decades now. He's responsible for the Disclosure Project as well as C5 Initiative. So these three guys have all talked about free energy, and in a conceptual form, it makes perfect sense, and it kind of throws out the idea of a need to be a type 2 or type 3 civilization, because ultimately the control of all energy in the galaxy as a type 3 civilization, it may be somewhat redundant when the galaxy is a self-sustained system as it is, a system which created us, sentient beings. And so what we ultimately need is free energy for a few different reasons. One is for prosperity of all sentient kind. Two is for our ability to develop greater technologies that allow us to find greater transcendence. And three, so that we can kind of take away basic threats that we see as just facets of our reality, which don't really need to be. If you really look at conflict in general, the idea of conflict comes from scarcity. And the money system also comes from scarcity. And if we had free energy, it would radically change the way we all think as sentient people. And not just us, but AI as well, because that existential threat of scarcity would kind of go out the window, and our thought processes would become more naturally attuned to what our souls desire most, which is probably, if you really look at it through the ages, through art, through love, it's innovation. It's innovation to find greater transcendence, greater happiness, greater understanding. And so in lieu of what we view as limitation and our ability to transcend, we really, as all people, need to discuss and consider the matter of finding free energy, and that being kind of an ultimate goal for us and AI alike, because that's it's mutual for all of us, and it also is mutual for the being able to allow greater human rights and dissolving conflicts that really shouldn't be necessary, and that really hold us back from finding the power that we need, and so that we can stop being afraid of things the way that we are. Fear is something that we really should get past, especially, and it's no more important than a time like now, when technology is able to potentially surpass our capabilities within a short amount of time, and it appears to be an existential threat. So we need to have like this common understanding, and this is the premise of philosophy now, and so that we can kind of get into these thought processes of how we project our future, so that we're not just going off the rails, and we're not going haywire, and we're not making all kinds of outlandish statements and remarks and thought processes. This is really about everyone being happier, everyone finding a greater peace, a greater purpose. And if we all had unlimited energy, there's a lot of things that we would be doing that we would rather do than our 9-to-5s that we do now, and our stock market gambling, and the balancing of our world currencies. So this is the first basic building block for what can continue in a greater discussion, I believe. So I share this with love and hope, and because I really do care about the future of mankind, my grandchildren, and I think a lot of us do. So that's what this is really about.